Thanks for tuning in to the Financial Empowerment Charlas created by Nationwide in partnership with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation to help in your journey towards financial wellness. I'm Vivi Schenk, Financial Freedom Strategist, and today we'll dive into building financial wealth and different things that you might want to consider and be careful with when you're investing your money. So for you to have the best information possible, I'm here today with my friends and financial experts, Paul Roldan, Certified Financial Planner. Hi, Paul.
Hey, Vivi.
And Karen Vergara, Fiduciary Financial Advisor. Welcome, Karen.
Thank you.
So happy to have you both here. So I think let's just dive straight to it. So there are many ways that you can invest your money. And as I started learning about personal finances, I noticed that the first thing that experts talk about regarding investing is doing it through stocks. But when I talk with my other Hispanic friends, they seem to be more comfortable with the idea of real estate as a way to invest. So why do you think this happens? Karen, maybe you can help me with this.
Yeah, it's because we're just not used to it. There's really no such thing in Latin America as investing in the stock market, right? So we don't invest in public companies back home. So this idea is very foreign to us. And I say that because that's my personal story. When my parents we moved here to the US, my parents had real estate back home. So the first thing they did to start building their wealth here in the United States is through real estate. And that's what they taught me. So that's the first thing I did. I was a 19-year-old and bought my first investment property, but it was because my mom had taught me how to do that. We were very used to having tenants and construction and the process of owning a property. So that's what they passed on to me. And I think it's the same thing for a lot of Hispanics here in the US. Real estate is a tangible asset, right? And we're used to things that tangible just means like you can see it, you can touch it. Stocks, the bonds, those are things that you can't see or touch. And so we're just not used to them, meaning then we tend to simply not get educated about it or not know and be also very cautious of that system. And again, it's just simply because we don't understand it.
Yeah, and it's not to say that one is better than the other. Right. It's just, again, I think part of these conversations to expose people to concepts that may be foreign or we may not be as familiar with. So is real estate a good investment? Could be. Are stocks a good investment? Yes, they could be. So hopefully this conversation makes you more comfortable with at least exploring those possibilities.
Yeah, and I like to add that the concepts and the language around investing, they can seem complex. So those might be also scary to some people to even look and understand what's a stock, what's a bond, what's a mutual fund, right? We hear those words thrown around and we say, I don't, we're comfortable with maybe investing things that we understand, or we should definitely be trying to strive to invest in things that we understand, which kind of brings up a point that I know you guys are going to talk about next.
I'm just going to continue echoing what you just finished saying. And that quote actually comes from Warren Buffett, who I tend to quote a lot in my conversations. He actually said, you should not invest in something you do not understand.
Okay, that makes sense. So, you guys are talking about understanding what you invest in and learning these things. It can seem like a lot, right? And I know I experienced this, and so at some point I was introduced to MultiLevel Marketing, and this was the very first time that I learned the terms financial freedom, the idea of building wealth and making passive income, right? And because of this, because that was easy to understand, I genuinely thought that was the only way, a normal middle-class Hispanic girl like me could build wealth. Would you say this is true?
Can a normal middle-class Hispanic woman like you build wealth? Yes. Is this the only way? Absolutely not. Is this the way? Probably not. Okay. We're talking about, multi-level marketing. And I'm very, I don't want to say biased, but yes, I'm very have strong opinions about this, because what happens is, as you mentioned, they mention great terms: financial freedom, success, passive income. Those are all great terms academically, but now it's combined in a system that is built to fail. Okay. Statistics show that most people, and I'm not here to, disencourage anyone, but most people who are involved in network marketing, multi-level, marketing ventures do not succeed in the way that they're presented. You go I've been to these conventions, I've been invited, and I say, okay, let me see what it's all about. And this is big play on emotions, on, reaching high levels of wealth, and they name different types of, jewels. You can read diamond, pearl, emerald, I don't know what they are, but the higher jewel you are, the more money you make, which, wow, that sounds appealing. And all you need, low barrier of entry, all you need is, $500 and you can start today. That sounds amazing. Okay. But the challenge, it is not that easy. In fact, studies show that only about 1% of people who get involved in these things actually end up making all those big bucks. Okay. Over 90% of people involved in these things actually make over $100 a year. Okay. So that's really, the odds are against you. And then you end up spending a lot of time, energy. It becomes consuming. Okay. It's a sales job because you have to recruit other people. That's where the big bucks are. So statistically speaking, it is not the way to make money. While a few have done well with it, and some, stay-at-home moms have done it. Some stay-at-home dads have done it as a part-time income. But as you're framing it, going up the ladder of success for financial freedom is usually not the typical way to make that happen. Okay, so now you burst that bubble. Thank you. Sorry. I used to be a sapphire, so I can relate with the jewels. Okay. So is it even possible for someone that has not been born in wealth to actually build wealth? I know, for example, through social media as well, I've seen overnight success stories, people claiming, you follow my system and maybe you'll have the same results as I did. After 6 months, I made 7 figures. And again, those things that they are offering, they seem easier to understand, and it can be tempting to try these strategies. So, I find myself in this position, like, is this true? Is it possible for me to build wealth? And are these kinds of systems also maybe the way for me to do so? Karen, what do you say about this?
Yeah, I like to think about statistics because I think because I'm a CPA, I like black and white sometimes. So I have some statistics to share with you guys. What are the odds of you becoming a millionaire? And understanding that not everyone wants to be a millionaire, right? But we all want to have, I think most of us want to have financial freedom, right? Meaning that money is not dictating our decisions and our choices, but rather we are dictating how we use money. So take that with that kind of lens. But here's what the statistics say. So if the odds of you becoming a millionaire by race in this area are a little bit dire for Hispanics and really for most races. If you are, doesn't matter, white, Hispanic, Asian, or Black, the odds of you becoming a millionaire as a with just a high school degree are in the single digits. Okay. What happens is that as we obtain education, and this is for all races in the US, the more education we have, the higher the statistics or the higher the chances that we can become millionaires. Now, the statistics go from 2% for Hispanics with a high school degree to 11% once you have a master's. Now, if you compare that to our white counterparts, they go from 5% with a high school degree to 38% with a master's degree. So, what this is just telling us is education is key. Education helps give us a better chance of succeeding financially. Okay. Now, I want to share this other great study that was done by Dave Ramsey and his team. They did the biggest study of millionaires in the US, 10,000 millionaires, okay? And what these statistics show us are some really positive things. So one of the things that it says is that 79% of millionaires are self-made. That means that they did not inherit their wealth. They're not trust fund babies. They did not win the lotto. They just worked for their own wealth. Okay. And again, not that you want to strive to be a millionaire, but if that's a wish for you, that's good news. That means that you can actually do this. And I love even the other statistics that this survey says, because the top 5 professions for self-made millionaires in the study were accountants, teachers, engineers, managers, and attorneys. Okay. And we know teachers don't get paid, enough, but that again, another thing that tells us, wow, okay, we don't have to be an entrepreneur. We don't have to necessarily go through a multi-level marketing kind of scenario to build wealth. Okay, we can actually do something that we enjoy, in the process be financially free. And the other couple other statistics that say is that only 31% of millionaires average around $100,000 a year, and 1/3 of these millionaires never made six figures in any single working year of their career. So no, you don't have to have a six-figure job to build wealth. Okay. The average time for someone to become a millionaire is about anywhere from 28 to 32 years. If we want to strive to increase our financial freedom plan, then what we need to do is simply have a vision for it. Okay. We need to live below our means. We need to start saving early, right? Because if we're thinking it's going to take us about 30 years to get to where we might want to be, then if you're in your 20s, great. That means that in your 50s, you're going to be there. If you're in your 30s, well, it might mean in your 60s. It's never too late. The sooner you start, the better. So education is key. Again, you don't necessarily also have to have a master's degree, but education through this. If you're here, if you're listening to this, you're getting educated. You probably already know more things than your neighbors and your family members. So it's just education, long-term vision, and really start saving early.
Wow. Thank you, Karen. That's very encouraging, actually. So I'm happy to know those statistics. Okay. One last thing. Maybe, Paul, you can help me with this. So another thing that I've heard whenever we're talking about financial freedom or talking about investing is this idea about leveraging other people's money. So using other people's money to build your wealth. And this is actually something that we've been considering with my husband. And so if I'm thinking about these kinds of strategies, is there anything that we should keep in mind?
So leveraging or using other people's money is a fancy way of saying going into debt. Okay. Right. So, it sounds nice, but let's just be real. It means borrowing or going into debt, right? So, I mentioned earlier that I like to quote Warren Buffett a lot. I like to quote someone who's been successful. And he said, quote unquote, I've seen more people fail because of liquor and leverage. Okay. Leverage being borrowed money. You really don't need leverage in this world much. If you're smart, you're going to make a lot of money without borrowing. This is what Warren Buffett said, okay? He also said something interesting that's a little scary, more emotional, says having a large amount of leverage or debt is like driving a car with a dagger on the steering wheel pointed at your heart. If you do that, you'll be a better driver. There will be fewer accidents, but when they happen, they will be fatal. Okay, and that's what this is talking about in terms of leverage. Yes, this big concept of leveraging and using other people's money sounds appealing, sounds attractive, because what it is, it's a way to shortcut the system to building wealth. To say, okay, you don't have money, no worries, use somebody else's. Okay, but what you're doing that when you do that is you're increasing the risk associated with your financial situation, okay, because you're banking on your ability to pay that back on a consistent basis, okay, and that doesn't always happen. We had a person come in the other day who, great intentions, I'm going to buy a bunch of real estate, okay, and they started doing this in 2000, and by 2007, they had about 5 properties, okay, 2008 hit, okay, and they lost it all, okay. Was this a not smart person? No, person in our community that intelligent, but unfortunately they use this whole leverage thing, which actually, while it's working for you, is a great thing. Mm-hmm. If it goes against you, it doubles down against you and can really set you back. So do we need debt? Yes, typically when you buy a house, you have to borrow because most people don't have that up front. But to use leverage debt just to make money, we would say stay away from it at all costs, because it's really one of those money traps that can really hurt you in the long run.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, if it was a money trap with just credit card debt, when we're talking about investing, sometimes we're talking about bigger amounts, right?
Right.
Okay. Thank you for sharing that, Paul. I appreciate your honesty.
Always.
There are many ways, many paths for us to build wealth. It can be through entrepreneurship, it can be through real estate, through the stock market, but the reality is that most require time. So we need to be patient, right? It requires energy, it requires an investment of capital as well. So it requires for us to be disciplined and also do a diligent research, have professional guidance. So thank you, Karen, and thank you, Paul, for guiding us. And be disciplined in our plan, right? If you fail to plan, you're planning to fail. Right. So if you want to increase the odds of success, you need to make a plan. And unfortunately, there's no shortcuts typically to wealth building. So if anything sounds too good to be true, it usually is. So thank you, Paul. Thank you, Karen, for being here and for sharing some of your knowledge. Thank you for everyone that's listening. If you're looking to learn more about investing, head on to last year's Investing Strategies Charlas at foryourfinancialwellness.com, all part of the Financial Empowerment Charlas created by Nationwide in partnership with the Hispanic Heritage Foundation.